Hello, everybody. This is David, and I want to talk about ChatGPT 4, specifically about how you might create a product with it. I've wasted the whole afternoon to it. It turned into be quite the rabbit hole, and it just initial thoughts, having walked away from it, it's awesome. It provides a lot. There are so many things I love about it. While it may not be 100% right all the time, it gives context and meaning and definition and organization to it tells you how it came up with its conclusion so that you can kind of run with it and decide where it goes next. So today I decided that I wanted to create something simple with it, but I wanted to give it some parameters, specifically on something that I'm kind of familiar with. So AngularJS is a front-end framework that I worked with quite a bit a few years ago. So if it started giving me some baloney, I would probably be able to kind of eyeball it and let it know one way or the other. So I said, hey, ChatGPT. So I gave it a role. You are a programmer and tasked with making a story-driven, text-based RPG game that will exist on the web. You're allowed to use the AngularJS framework. Can you help me with this? So right off the bat, it kind of lays out some guidelines, and it's trying to set me up for success from like the first moment. Though I did notice that it tried to use Angular, not AngularJS, so I kind of had to stop it right off the bat. And then we were in business. So it gives you some rough organizational ideas about where you want to start, what you want to do, what your game might look like, and it actually kind of starts giving us some boilerplate code. So this is run-of-the-mill stuff. AngularJS, still pretty neat though. So now we have a Angular application, and we've got some raw HTML using some of those Angular components. Really cool. Just right off the bat, we now have like a technically an AngularJS app that has the foundation for what we need it to be. And here's the thing with ChatGPT and a lot of these AI models, they are they're data hungry. They're typically supervised by some third party, either human interference or another application, but you're just really trying to massage the data. And so with ChatGPT, the more context, the more specific, the more detail in your question, the better your answer is going to be. Because a lot of times it's user error in how we ask the question. So I say, hey, this is great, but how do we make it data driven? So right off the bat, it throws together this like JSON, this list of choices. And I already love the way that it's trying to put it together. So we've got these scenes, and each choice actually takes you to another scene. Pretty cool. And it's kind of setting up some of the Angular parameters about how we might jump from scene to scene within a Angular context. So already, don't get too stressed about not understanding Angular code. It's really not the point. The point is just how, like, given the context of the framework, the technology, and what I'm asking it, it's actually putting together a pretty, it's doing what I asked it to do. So now we have a for loop of all those different choices. It's driven by data. It's driven by this thing. No longer like manually hard-coded HTML. Really cool. And there's some details that I forgot. Asked it for a package.json. It spit it out for me. Again, telling me what it did. And then this is again where I really like this one, because this is actually where it kind of guided me to the problem. I let it know that there was a problem with the iframe that it dropped in with the video. And I'm going to show you guys the code and the project here in a second. But I had an assumption about what's wrong. I was actually totally wrong. It actually knew what the problem was and self-corrected it, but it was able to diagnose it based on my input. So that that probably saved me 30 minutes longer, maybe an hour. Like it just knew right off the bat, and that's just security policy in AngularJS, and it needed to kind of set the URL as a trusted source. And the moment I did that, it worked. It's really awesome. Yep, this is where the video question came in. It applied it, and this is another good one. I wanted to see just how well it would do about asking it multiple things within the context of a single question. So if you read here, I want the buttons horizontal, I want there to be spacing, I want the panel to be centered, I want different fonts implied, and I want the some of those panels to be rounded. So there's a lot of detail in here, and like, there's some things that I'm asking that you could easily skip over if you're not reading it correctly. And for the most part, I think it read it in, but it did miss some things. It missed the buttons specifically. Yeah, that was the main thing. So it didn't do as well with the multi-question within one statement, or at least multiple directions within one statement, but it did a damn good job. And this is where it fixed my buttons. I really liked it. Yeah, and then again, this is where I wanted to see, okay, let's see how can it build a human story based on some parameters that I gave it. So I came up with something stupid. Computer scientist and his dog walking home, trying to find home through a dark and spooky environment, filled with zombies, and it did pretty good. It actually struggled a little bit. For whatever reason, when I guess with the document response, when that got too big, it started to run into some trouble. But one cool thing that it did is it actually broke it up into two when I told it that there was a problem, and then I was able to kind of get it running. Some background music. What else in here? Yeah, and this background music thing too. It's just so cool because not only did it do what I asked it to do, it had like a level of perception. Like it had a guess as to like what kind of thing that I would want to do with that music. So not only did it allow me to set up background music, it gave me the ability to control that music that was playing and like the different actions and behaviors that would work on it depending on the scene that I'm in. So it was trying to be one step ahead of me. In this case, it actually did the trick. So, and just before we go, so Rosie Sun, really cool picture. Thank you so much. Just want to shout her out. Okay, so here it is. This is it. Nothing too crazy, but I had almost next to no input. I think there were a couple of things that I had to tweak. Sometimes I would just find that it would encounter a problem. And from that problem, it would just try so many different ways to get past it. But even though it was really simple, it just couldn't get past it. That happened once or twice, but for the most part, this is all ChatGPT. So this is the story. It's not great, but I love the dynamic nature of it. So a computer scientist looking for their way home, and through a spooky forest, you can barely see her surroundings, and you hear the distant moaning of zombies. You must find your way home. I already know where I need to go, so I head north. Oh, music's playing. You and your dog walk north and stumble upon a horde of zombies blocking your path. You can't fight them all. There's a narrow path to the east that might lead to safety. Sounds good? Let's do it. You and your dog follow the east and come across a river. There's a rickety old bridge that looks like it might collapse at any moment. You can try to find another way across. Nope, let's go across. And I'll just keep kind of going through. Yeah, we don't want to go into a village of zombies. Let's explore. Oh, okay, we made it back home. And now we got a video. No, I swear to God this was working. Still, I wonder if I click the video. What's it gonna be? And yeah, it is really cool. So what do I think about it? I think it is awesome. I think every developer needs to get their hands on it, get familiar with it, because it's going to make you a more productive engineer, a more productive developer. Maybe it's not going to be 10 times like what they're quoting, but I cannot tell you the number of times where I have been stumped or blocked, or maybe I just needed something simple and what's boilerplate. All the information and data is there. It's not like I'm reinventing the wheel. I just need to get it set up for my current environment, and it has been fantastic on that. Though I do wonder about how it's going to do with the more complex, when the scope starts to increase within a project, how is it going to do in terms of making sure that it all aligns with a vision and purpose? I don't know. I kind of started see some wonkiness, like the more and more this like little app became big, but for the most part it was able to handle it. There are just so many things that it had to get right in order for it to give me the detail that it did, and it just did. Something like this would, like, when I was first learning, it would have been a little demoralizing, because it basically just knocked out like what could have been a weekend long project in like at 30 minutes. But it would, I can see this being an amazing teacher. I can just see this making developers better. I'm afraid of people becoming over reliant on it, but it is a good tool to kind of have in your back pocket. I'm just rambling about it. Try it out. It's awesome. Before it takes over the world, it's going to be a good time before we get there. Yeah. All right. Have a good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. Take care. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.